Hi, everyone. So as promised, during the week, we cover mass communication. I said I will invite the area head for the journalism major, the comm studies area head, as well as our undergraduate PR director so that you can kind of see what entails each major in the department. Today, I have Dr. Elizabeth Stoycheff, our very own area head in the for journalism area. She has been here for many years
11 years.
now, 11 years now, and she has been teaching many classes in the for the journalism majors, including media literacy. What are some of the other classes you taught?
I teach reporting. I
Reporting.
teach feature writing. I
Right.
teach new media.
So that's kind of where she's coming from. So hopefully, as an assignment for this class, you guys will watch this video, and if any of you are interested in learning more about the journalism major and what you can do for it for your undergrad education, you will be offered extra credit to set up a meeting with our academic advisor, Jessica Greenwald, who covers the journalism major students. So I'll just go ahead and get started on some of the questions that I have prepared for Dr. Stoycheff today. So as sort of the first thing, can you sort of quickly explain what the curriculum for the journalism major looks like? What do you think are some of the expectations? Could you kind of help with some of the students who are a bit intimidated by declaring journalism as a major by providing these sort of like fact sheets for what happens when you declare journalism as a major?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to come and talk about journalism. I think our program here is really an excellent program, and that is reflected in the professional community here. Journalism is a pathway to kind of a direct job. Most of our graduates actually end up in the workforce working in journalism. So our curriculum here, we have 13 required classes. So you can do all of your required courses in about 2 years. And those required classes focus on different types of storytelling on different platforms. So we talk about photography, we do writing, we do audio, we do visual storytelling, we do data, and social media. So we want to be able to tell communication stories and reporting across all of those platforms. And so your major courses will be focusing on those dimensions, along with a strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion, history of journalism and what journalism means for democracy, for society, and then also the ethics of practicing journalism and what differentiates a practicing journalist from somebody who is just, a cell phone person in a crowd. So these are the things that we kind of talk about in all of our required and then elective courses. And so if you want to declare journalism as your major, you start off with some of our introductory classes. I teach one of them. Dr. Jang just mentioned media ethics, which is our foundational class, or media literacy, which is our foundational class. And media literacy talks about like the psychology of media and how you process media messages and the effects that they have on individuals and then society collectively. So I'll stop there.
Okay. All right. So you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but what should they anticipate their 4 years to look like? I know we have like a plan of study on our website, but to kind of give a overview of what sort of the day-to-day life for the journalism major looks like, what will the 3 years in the journalism major look like once they declare it as their major? And obviously you kind of mentioned that they will be working in some type of journalism profession after graduation, but what are some of the career prospects that you've seen some of the current or former journalism students take?
So when you declare journalism as your major and then you take probably 3 years of coursework afterwards, you're probably taking about 3 or 4 journalism classes a semester. And these classes are intensive in the sense that they require you to go out and do actual reporting. So most of the stories that you report for class can and sometimes are pitched outside of class. So this is a requirement that I actually have in one of my junior level writing classes. Like, you actually have to pitch for a publication in our local community. So you're not just writing for my class, you're writing for freelance. You're becoming a journalist while you're training to be a journalist. So you're going to take three or four classes a semester in the journalism that'll give you those foundational skills. One of the other components that we really strongly prioritize is internships. And so we want you to take an internship pretty much every summer. If your summers are booked up with other types of work or familial obligations, we do offer internship credit available during the school year. And it's required for you to have at least one internship over your major here, because internships are so important to securing employment after graduation. Then that's why we require them. And so many of our students go on to get their first jobs from places where they have interned. So they just kind of continue their internship and sign on as an entry-level reporter or photographer or broadcast journalist and get paid a lot more money than you get paid as an intern.
Well, yeah, go ahead. That kind of goes along with some of the things that Sean Wright had talked about during his years in the bachelor program as a journalism major, that he was taking classes, but while he was doing so, he was continuing to build up his writing portfolio through the internship and through the professional connections and all that. So that just came up to me, but sorry to interrupt.
And we also have like a lot of opportunities that are extracurricular, so outside of class, that are somewhat expectations that journalism majors would pursue these things. The first is our campus newspaper, the South End. You can sign up to write an article for the South End. You can test it out. You don't have to be a journalism major. They are accepting of anyone and everyone who wants to write. Or produce photography, or to do a podcast, or do multimedia content for the student newspaper. They have a website, and so I'm sure we can give you the link to that. And so that's something that's strongly encouraged that you engage in on an extracurricular basis. Other things, we have a student organization called the Society of Professional Journalists that does professional development for student journalists and connects you with professionals in the community, people who are practicing, people who are going to be able to get you that first job or serve as a recommender or get you scholarships. The Society of Professional Journalists is a national organization that does endow its own scholarships, and Wayne State is a heavy recipient of that award every year. So we have that. And then we also have the Journalism Institute for Media Diversity. We nickname this JIM. And JIM is a learning community that's focused on issues related to identity, diversity, and inclusion. And the whole point of this community is to get like-minded people together to produce a media and to cultivate and train the next generation of media professionals to be representative and inclusive and diverse in their reporting and their storytelling. And JIM offers a lot of mentorship and scholarship opportunities. So actually every year JIM gives a scholarship that includes room and board on campus to students, which is a really fantastic opportunity. In addition to that, they also offer like just regular scholarships that you don't have to reside on campus for. So these are some of the extracurricular ways that we expect journalism students to get involved. Our most successful students are the ones that are participating in many of these, also participating in internships while taking their major coursework. And then they're going to have a lot of success on the job market their first year out.
Okay. That kind of brings me to my next question, which is, I guess, a little similar. Two questions that are similar to each other. What's your pitch for the students to think that journalism is a really relevant major in the year of 2023? right? And this is a question that I asked some of our panelists who came to join us in my class yesterday, actually. And so what makes journalism major highly relevant for undergraduate students who are pursuing their bachelor's degree right now? And it is kind of obvious, it's sort of insinuated here, but what do you think are some of the specific skill sets that the students can acquire as they declare major or minor in journalism?
Those are both really great questions. So I think journalism for our society is more important in 2023 than it ever has been. It's important here locally. If you want to stay here in Metro Detroit, we have the 13th largest media market in the country. So that means in terms of our newspapers, our radio, our magazines, our social media presence, we have the 13th largest presence in the whole country. So you don't have to move to New York City. You don't have to move to LA to have a really great high profile job in journalism. There are jobs here. They are demanding local graduates. It's an in-demand profession. So I think that is my biggest selling point for journalism has jobs still available. You hear that newspapers are dying off, but they are picking up in other ways. And the reason for this is because media, journalism specifically, is the primary way people learn about the world after their formal education ends. So thinking about when you're done with your college experience or done with your high school experience, where do most people get information from? They get it through the media. They get it through news. And so having that strong pillar of journalism is really important for a democratic society and just a well-informed, literate society, the type of place that you want to live in. So that's why it's important in 2023 to pursue a journalism career. The skills that we are equipping you with are relevant to 2023. We focus still on oral communication, networking, and writing, which are not new skills, but they are foundational skills that are so important to not just journalism, but any profession that you're going to go into. You need to be a good orator. You need to be able to network with people well. You need to be able to do interviews. You need to be able to write well. And so some of the skills that beyond that we're prioritizing in 2023 are photojournalism. So photography using digital equipment, state of the art. We do a lot of production. So we have an entire broadcast journalism major that equips you with production and editing skills so that you can go out and join one of our local television stations here or across the country. We have just added in a new podcasting class. So that's something that we're going to be adding, as well as specific skills for online, whether that's social media and data analytics. Those are additional skills that we are building into our curriculum, not just in a single class, but we're building them into almost all of our classes, have some of those kind of digital elements, recognizing that the platforms that we work and write for now all have some sort of digital convergence to them.
And that's kind of I feel like that's kind of the most common misunderstanding that people have about journalism, that it's just about writing, when in fact we're kind of training everybody to become a fluent communicator across different types of modality and channels and media. So that's definitely something that I think a lot of the students can find interesting, I guess. So just to kind of end off this conversation, as a couple of the last questions here, and you already touched upon this a little bit, what are some of the unexpected, or like not the typical journalism major grad job, but what were some of the most interesting type of career paths that you've seen some of the journalism major take? And do you have any suggestions for anybody who is switching to journalism or considering to double major in journalism because of some of their other types of interests?
Yeah. So as have mentioned, most of our graduating students will go out and actually become a practicing journalist or somebody who is affiliated with the media in some capacity, whether that's working in public relations or in corporate communication. That's another, I think, big selling point of journalism as a degree, because that you can translate these same skills. So the skills that you learn in journalism are not different from the skills that you will learn in PR. They are transferable. And so what you actually look at is out in our community of people, you will find a lot of people who have been in corporate comm, in journalism, in public relations over the course of their career. So if you're thinking about not necessarily your first job, but maybe your second or third job, that might be in journalism or that might be somewhere else. And so it's these skills that are preparing you for an entry into any communication media related field. We are also a great stepping stone for anybody who is thinking about law school. We focus strongly in our classes, the normative principles of journalism, the ethics and the law that surrounds the journalism community. I myself studied digital privacy and digital privacy of journalists. So these dimensions make it a really good fit for anybody who is planning to go to law school. And we do see students graduate from our program and then go on to the JD here at Wayne or somewhere else. Another really interesting path that students often take, not often, less often take, is to get into book writing and book publishing. Nonfiction work so is a huge venue and opportunity for writing that you kind of don't think about. A lot of people think about book publishing and book writing as something that is coming out of English and creative writing, but so much of what we write and consume is nonfiction, and that's largely coming from journalists who are either fresh in their careers or journalists who are very well seasoned in their careers often come back and write books. And then the other place that people kind of find themselves are nonprofit work.
Oh, wow.
So not the nonprofit communities, journalism has a really strong tie to that because of its networking. And it's somewhat like PR in that regard, in that the priority is building relationships in journalism. And so building relationships, how do you foster relationships? How do you think about community engagement? How do you inform your community? These are all missions of local nonprofits as well. So the skills that we're teaching in our classes often translate to those professions too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining the class. Do you have any kind of like a final pitch for those students in my class who are considering and started debating? What will be your sort of final pitch?
So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's considering a major in journalism. Here at Wayne State, we offer a lot of scholarship money. So if you are divided between majors, if you are considering a major and you want to get a skill set that is practical, that is applied, that has scholarship money, I would strongly urge you to consider journalism as an outlet. I would also urge you to consider it as a minor or a double major. I think it pairs really, really well with history, with political science, with PR. Right now I have a global studies major, sociology. So it takes some of these more liberal arts majors and makes them very practical and applied. So I think that it's a really great choice, and we live in a wonderful city that supports journalism.
Yep, for sure. Well, thank you again for joining the class. And I hope all of you guys will find this helpful as you kind of think about, as some of you early in the program are kind of thinking about some of the majors as well as your decision. So thank you again.